Have you ever felt like a loser every time you promise yourself that you're gonna change tomorrow, but then you're back at square one the next morning? You're back to your same old routine: work, eat, sleep, and the casual weekend night out. You wanted to change, but always start and stop every time you encounter a difficult problem. You're used to being average and living in complacency, but every time you notice someone with the life you want, whether that'll be the fit muscular guy in your friend circle or a successful influencer that you see online flashing their fifth supercar and their designer clothing and their collection of $100,000 Rolex watches, and you can't help but compare yourself to them, admiring their great discipline and consistency and their pretentious effort towards their achievements. Oh, you just have to work hard and you'll get there one day. I really like working hard. I really like stress. I love this. I'm doing what I love. And then you start to question their achievement. You start to display jealousy and hatred towards their pretentious effort. And you start to think that they have it easy. Like, if I had what they had, I would have appreciated more than them. I would have traveled all over the world and eat at fancy restaurants and fill my life with every type of pleasure that I can afford, and not sit there and brag and talking about how much I love to work, how much I love stress, just to put myself on a pedestal to impress others. And yet, I'm the one who's stuck at this dead-end job, pursuing an education that isn't even guaranteed for a better paying job in the future, and stuck in this habit loop that I can't get out of. If you can relate to this, you're in the right place, because I'm about to break the news to you. It's not that these people are being pretentious and trying to show off, trying to play it cool. It's that they have changed something within themselves and stuck with that new habit that ultimately shifted their mind in the process. I want to share something with you that worked for me and genuinely helped me break free out of that habit loop of going back and forth in your comfort zone. Start something and quit when it gets hard. This is something I've never heard anyone talk about, and it's something that I've understood through years of pattern recognition. And no, it's not watching motivational videos. It's not these advice that you heard online over and over again, or these general advice that online gurus gave you. Just do a dopamine detox. Oh, you must be disciplined, develop a routine, or just have a purpose. These outdated general advice that lacks structure and that doesn't make any sense. Before that, we must understand and break down what created your habit in the first place. So what is a habit? A habit is a set of behaviors that you do that sometimes goes unnoticed because you're used to it and it becomes hard to change. The problem with most people isn't because they don't work hard, they are exposed to too much stimulation, they need a dopamine detox. No. It's their habit. Their body seeks balance, so they created a system of behaviors which allows them to have a work-life balance. And the more you do those things, the harder it is to quit because it becomes habitual. You, coming back from work or school, then immediately sat on the couch and start playing games on your computer or scrolling on your phone. That is a set of behavior that you're used to. You probably think that you deserve a break because you work so hard at your job or in school that you don't have energy to do anything else productive. That may be true, but in order to break out of that, we need to find patterns of what makes successful people so addicted to self-improving every day, but they're still able to love the work they do. The difference between what you do and what successful people do isn't to work endlessly and not take breaks, but as what I like to call it, having a low pain action threshold and a low pleasure action threshold. Now, what do I mean by this? First, we'll explain what a high pain action threshold looks like. Let me give you an example. You wanting to get in shape, but lacks motivation. Okay, so how does a heartbreak sound? Now you're more motivated than ever. You train for 2 months as the heartbreak fades away, and now you need something worse than the heartbreak to get you to the gym. That is a high pain action threshold. You need an immense level of pain, something that hurts you so bad to happen in your life for you to change your habit. Now, on the alternative, an example of a low pain action threshold is like someone who is unhappy with the distance that they're able to run without running out of breath. They don't have to go to the gym. There are many ways to get from point A to point B without running. But they went anyway, not only because they know that being out of shape in the long term is bad for their health, but also because they have a low pain action threshold. Now, a heartbreak is much more painful than knowing that you can't run a mile. It doesn't take some dramatic downfall or them falling to the bottom of the bottle for them to change. Now, as for a high pleasure action threshold, it's the same concept but different motivators. For a high pleasure action threshold, it goes something like this. You're working at a job you hate, but in order for you to continuously working that job, you need to go on 2 vacations a year and drink beer after work as well as eat junk food. You're only willing to endure the pain because you get rewarded with pleasure immediately afterwards. Same scenario. Now let's look at low pleasure action threshold. You working at a job you hate, but you enjoy the simple things that makes you happy. Whether that's treating yourself with a nice meal during lunch break or a simple compliment from a random stranger, it doesn't take much for you to keep doing what you do. You don't need to be rewarded with massive pleasure immediately. Now, all of these are true, but if we were to put pleasure and pain action threshold on a sliding scale, then we can see how they correlate and affect each other. The higher your pain tolerance is, the more pain needed for you to act, which also meant the lower the pleasure it takes for you to act. And the opposite is true. The lower your pain tolerance is, the less pain needed for you to act, which also meant the higher the pleasure it takes for you to act. Now, you might be confused and ask, didn't you say earlier that you need to have a low pain action threshold and a low pleasure action threshold? How am I supposed to achieve that if this is the case? Here's how. Every example that I've just listed are people's perceptions. What you do for fun might only be what others do every day. And what you consider to be painful might just be a tap on the shoulders for other people. Everyone is unique and have their own unique experiences. So where you are currently on the scale depends on you. So the reason that you're stuck, not only because nothing in your life motivates you to change, but also because you're comfortable with where you are. You don't introduce anything challenging or anything new. If nothing changes, nothing changes. You need to figure out what your action thresholds are and what you're trying to accomplish and use pain and pleasure to get there. If your pleasure action threshold is low, then reward yourself every time you complete a task. If your pleasure action threshold is high, then punish yourself for not completing the task. The person that uses pain to achieve great success in life have either endured so much pain that the slightest pleasure will help them and motivate them to keep going. Like the lost survivor who has been left in the wilderness for so long, when he finally gets back to civilization, even the simplest taste of fresh water will make him cry. Or the person that uses pleasure to achieve success in life have been doing what they love and capitalize on it. Like the bodybuilder who's willing to take decades off their life to become the greatest of all time. Or like someone who's eventually released after serving years in prison, and even just the slightest simple McDonald's burger can make him happy. If you're someone like me who has a high pain action threshold and a low pleasure action threshold, when you're trying to change for the better, either you're working on your business, going to the gym, sticking to a diet, or in my case, staying consistent to my YouTube channel, and etc., then you need to start finding pleasure in doing things that you don't want to do. Isolate yourself and eliminate all the other pleasurable distractions. Have you ever seen these videos of people saying in order to succeed, you need to love what you do? Or the person that loves to walk will walk further than the person who loves the destination? They're saying that because those people develop love through suffering. If everything around you is shit, then the thing that you're doing, even if it gives you just the slightest bit of pleasure or achievement, is enough for you to keep going. It's like the elite level bodybuilder that says he loves bodybuilding, and you're looking at him crazy and you're like, how can someone love starving himself, eating bland, tasteless food every day, and putting himself through all the pain and the struggle in the gym? and sometimes suffering from sleeplessness, well, it's because apart from ambition, they enjoy looking at themselves in the mirror from the pump, and they reward themselves with a cheat meal every once in a while. So the boring life, the pain outside of the gym, makes it worth it. You might be stuck now, you might feel lost sometimes, and you might not make any progress. Just know that if you want to change, if you want anything genuinely valuable, you need to become a valuable person first. And your habits shape who you are. If you're not where you want to be, or the person who you wish to become, then you have to change your habits. And sometimes you might need to take to the extreme measures, like going through an extremely tragical event, or simply missing out what you regularly do, missing out on friends and family or Friday night out, and sacrifice a large portion of your time. The point is, redirecting all that positive and negative energy to whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So you'll never run out of motivation and drive. And it might feel like nothing's working because you're not seeing progress, but you have to understand that almost all successful people are going through the same thing. They went through what you are going through right now. And it's this habit that they've adapted to continuously love doing what they don't want to do in the very beginning. If this video sparks just a little bit of momentum inside of you for you to act, then it makes it all worth it. I'll see you in the next one.